I will die as the most open-minded, teachable old man you'll ever know. It's true. You know, it makes me think back to the Wallflowers. Remember that band? In my opinion, one of the best albums ever recorded was their album Bringing Down the Horse. And in May of 1997, which is almost exactly 20 years ago from right now, they released their last single from that album, and it was called The Difference. And the chorus of that song in its entirety was, "The only difference that I see is you are exactly the same as you used to be." Now, for 2 decades, I've been trying to understand what that simple sentence even means. I mean, it's so simple, it doesn't make sense. The only difference that I see is you're exactly the same as you used to be. I'm not claiming I know the answer for sure, but here's my understanding of it. What he's saying to someone that he's known his whole life is, now that he's seen them again, it's like time hasn't changed. They're still the same person as he knew last time. Compare that to how he knew them before. They were always changing. They were always in a different place in life. Suddenly, they finally kind of caught up with themselves, settled down. And so now the only difference this time around is they're exactly the same as they used to be. I could be wrong. Let's assume that I am. But so that song makes sense to me, that's what the song is about. So imagine this. Some people, for the most part, really don't change as they grow older, as they grow up. They don't really change that much. I'm not one of those people, though. Like, on the surface, I am. Oh yeah, Nick, he's a cool guy, he's a nice guy, whatever. On the surface, okay? But it's funny because if I think back to high school, which I graduated nearly 18 years ago. I had just turned 18 when I graduated, and now just about the same amount of time has passed since I graduated high school. It's funny because those people who know me, and they may see me on Facebook and see a picture of my wife or my kids, and that's all they really know about me. When they think of me, ultimately they think of that kid from 1999, from the last time they were around me. That's the person they know. That's the version of me that they remember. They don't know what's happened in the last 18 years since my life has doubled in age. To them, I'm probably still the same person, but I'm not. In fact, I've changed so much. Even in the last 5 years, I've evolved and I've adapted to my circumstances and I've matured. And that's what I always want to do. I mean, sure, I always ultimately want to be the same person in here, I guess. Not really, because I'd actually argue that my heart is better now. And I don't mean that physically. Well, I do, because now I'm a vegan and I wasn't before. But symbolically, I think I have a better heart for other people than I did years ago. I think I'm a person that doesn't assume that I'm always right, and a person who realizes that I am a flawed person. Whereas before, I went around thinking, oh, I'm a pretty good person. I am a good person. And I don't think that anymore, you know? I assume that I'm not as good as most people. I assume that my flaws are worse than most people's. Inwardly, if nothing else, right? So for me, it's fundamentally important that I am always evolving. In fact, what I'm telling you now is, if time passes and I haven't changed, if I'm not in some kind of new phase in my life, if I'm not going through something new, then that's when you should be worried about me. You should be worried about me if I'm not transitioning into something new and different. I'm always wanting to challenge myself. I'm always wanting to see life from a new perspective. And without evolving, then that's the thing I fear the most. Because there's this stereotype about being this bitter old man. Because when a lot of times when we think of an old man, and we mean it kind of in a negative way, we think of this man who's just so set in his ways. He's closed-minded. You can't teach him anything. At a certain point, that's just who he is, and you're not going to get through to him. But for me, it's fundamentally important that I never become that guy. So every day, it's important to me that I am open-minded, that I'm not fearing change, but instead that I'm embracing change. Instead of assuming I know everything, I'm assuming I've got something new to learn that day. The day I stop doing that is the moment I become that bitter old man. Whether it's at 40, 50, 70, or 80, it's important to me that I don't become that man. That's why my plan is to die as the most open-minded, teachable old man you've ever known.